Is Concierge worth it on a Disney cruise to the Mexican Riviera?
We've got some answers, and there's one that may really surprise you that we've never thought of. So, I'm Brad.
I'm Kim.
And we're 6260 Ohana, California. Let's get into it. Concierge is a very big expense.
So, you're going to get certain perks, just like any other Disney cruise and Concierge. You're going to get a welcome aboard lunch, priority reservations, and that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
That's for all your things like if you want to use Palo or if you want certain excursions, things like that. You're going to have a special pillow menu, bedding, upgraded bedding, evening drinks in the lounge, which are cocktails and drinks and stuff. They have kind of like, I'd say like tapas-sized little snacks all day long, from breakfast all the way through dinner and dessert. They have a drink cart that comes around to your room. That's kind of like a nice little evening cocktail hour. They have free popcorn at the shows and for entertainment, and priority seating at the shows. And you also get to be the first aboard the ship for your cruise.
You're thinking, wow, this is going to be well worth all this stuff. Well, let's hold on a moment about this. There are times that you may not be thinking about it because it could be for only a 3 to 4 day cruise.
And that goes by in literally a flash of an eye. We did a 4-night cruise and I swear we blinked and it was over.
Yeah, and this is where we started really questioning if it's worth that extra cost for a concierge. It may be worth it for you if you're wanting to try out concierge before buying concierge.
Like a bigger cruise, like we did an Alaskan cruise, concierge earlier this year, and we'll do that in a whole separate another video, but that was a whole different experience.
Yeah.
First of all, when you book, one of the first things you'll understand is that you'll have priority booking for excursions. Well, I don't know if that's really such a big deal for a Mexican Riviera cruise. Like if you're going to Cabo, it might be if you want to go to Los Arcs or a kind of beach break kind of day. But still, I don't know if that would make or break my trip if we didn't get that.
Yeah, and the really problem we have with Cabo is any excursion you take is that you are going to be on that excursion for the whole time you're in port.
And then also, there's things like swimming with the dolphins. That, if you were like dead set on that, that might kind of sway your opinion a little bit.
Mm-hmm. But for the most part, yeah, we really didn't use it. And it's one of those things that I don't see the value there. You probably could book a lot of these if you're right on the ball at your normal time.
Okay, so the first thing about when we got to the port, we were the first ones in the terminal, which was really nice. But unlike other ports that Disney goes out of, there was not a priority, like there wasn't a concierge seating that was separate.
And so what Kim is talking about is when you board the ship is that they only had a line that's for concierge, which was nice, allowed you to get right in and go right to the first booking area and right through the agents really quick. But really, we've been later before. They always had this concierge area that you can always check in at any time.
But there's not like a dedicated seating area. Like when we went out of Vancouver, there was like a separated roped off area. I've heard going out of Port Canaveral has a really nice concierge lounge. They do not have anything like that out of San Diego.
No, it's just basically line up and here's your area, you can sit there. But we did get on the ship, second family on the ship. So you take care of whatever you like to do there. Also, of course, you do have that right when you get on the ship is what Kim talked about earlier, which is the lunch that is concierge only, which is nice.
Yeah, they do that it's not specific just to the Mexican Riviera.
Unlike if you're not concierge, you go up to Cabanas and
I think the other one was over at Tiana's.
So you had those restaurants available to you at that time if you're not concierge. So I kind of call that
It's nice because they do have some different menu items. Like they have a lobster salad and they have a beef tenderloin that's only on that menu. And they have a chocolate lava cake that's only on that menu.
But, really, it's a cruise, still cruise food. So only other thing is that you do get to meet your cruise.
The concierge staff, the concierge cruise comes around to each table and introduces themselves. And it's a nice start to the cruise. So one of the things is, it's every time you're in concierge on the Disney Wonder is they have a sun deck, which is beautiful.
Yeah, it's great. It has a whole bunch of kind of nice loungy areas. Unfortunately, we did not use it that much on this one.
No, but there is sunscreen, like the spray-on sunscreen that's available. Kind of a nice thing if you forgot your stuff at home or you ran out. That's a nice kind of extra, but I mean, I guess when they charge double on the ship, it's kind of a nice little perk there.
It's nice to have. Really, we ended up on our sea days actually down at the pool, at the adult area pool. So, and we should mention this, on this cruise, it was just me and Kim. Hayden did not go with us, so we were childless. So that will get into more why this is a weird kind of situation that we had.
Also on the sun deck is kind of a nice thing. On the Pirates Night, they have the fireworks. You cannot see the pirate show from the sun deck, but actually going up there, you had a beautiful view of the fireworks.
Yeah, it was actually great. It was kind of a nice private area, and then there was not a lot of competition, do we say?
It's not, you don't feel so crowded and squished in like you may at other parts of the ship.
Yeah, you can just sit from the sun deck and watch them, or it's on the stairs and watch them, and go right back in and get that drink from the bar afterwards.
I wonder what your priority was.
I gotta make Concierge worth it somehow, right? Because it is expensive. It was really nice to go inside because it was kind of chilly that night, and be able to go right inside, have a drink, and talk to other people, which is a bonus about Concierge.
Actually, in general, I think we kind of noticed it's more of a social area.
Yeah, it's nice to have that social area compared to other areas. You may not have that social contact as much.
Okay, so one of the things about Concierge is that you get priority boarding to tender boats. So for us, when we went to Cabo, they had tenders to port. So anytime they get a kind of a little group together, they take you down from the Concierge Lounge and you get to priority board instead of waiting in line for the tenders, which was kind of nice.
So think of this as your Lightning Lane Plus to shore.
However, there is not a priority line from the port back to the ship. I know, right? That would have been nice.
Nice, and unfortunately, we did not get to use it.
We're going to get into that a little bit later.
Yeah, and again, that's one of the reasons that we never thought of. Okay, so what we're really talking about is it worth it for 3 to 4 nights?
Okay, this is a really hard one. It was expensive, and really, I think a lot of it is we booked kind of last minute.
Yeah, and that made a big difference for us on some things, especially with the priority bookings.
Well, actually, quite frankly, there was only Ocean View available or Concierge. So we chose Concierge. We really would have probably booked the Veranda and been perfectly happy for 3 to 4 days.
Actually, we tried to book it, and as soon as we were ready to book it, it went... It happens. So we got Concierge instead. And really, we're finding for what we used it for 3 or 4 days, it really wasn't completely worth it for us. The only thing it became really worth it is for Palo.
Okay, so Palo we would not have been able to book. We did get Palo dinner and got Palo brunch.
And that Palo brunch, you really want that.
So good.
And that tends to go from the concierge guests immediately.
So also, one of the other things is we are talking about would it be worth it for 7 days? It's going to be an increase of price versus the 3 to 4 days. So it might be because you're probably spending more time on the ship.
And the 3 to 4 days, like we said, it really gives you a good idea of what concierge is about before you may be wanting to book that bigger, more expensive Alaskan cruise concierge.
Or even the Bahamas and Caribbean.
Yeah. So it does give you that great idea for a little bit lower price, but it is still almost double of what a regular Ocean View Veranda would be at.
Yeah, so that was a hard pill for us to swallow.
Yeah. But overall, it was... I would rather book the Veranda View for this cruise for the 3 to 4 night than I would for Concierge, except for one thing that would completely sway us.
The one thing we didn't mention is in Concierge per room, you get 100 megabytes of free Wi-Fi.
And that's compared to the 50 megabytes that you get for everybody else on the ship.
This became super important to us. We ended up where, like we said, this was a couple's cruise. We left our teenage son home with the grandparents. Don't worry, he got plenty spoiled.
Yeah, it was a last minute cruise for us because unfortunately we were usually go to Vegas during this time. And Vegas, was outrageous. So we took this cruise because it was about the same price.
Okay, I know it was a random weekend.
Yeah, but the thing is with that 100 megabytes, we were able to call back home, and it became really important in certain parts that we had with communicating with our son, because unfortunately he got sick.
So that threw a huge wrench in our plans. We had given my mom a copy of our insurance card, didn't think twice about it. Our son's pediatrician came out and said, no, actually, to see him, we want you to sign our paperwork from the office, which we've never gone through this before. So it became a problem of where we needed that Wi-Fi to get everything signed and figured out and what to do. And we didn't use a phone call to shore. We ended up using, Brad will explain this because he's better at the tech.
Okay, so what happened is Hayden got, it's like Cam said, we were talking about, he got really sick. He actually had to go see the doctor because it was a physical thing that you could see. It wasn't a normal sickness. But we had to try to get documents and everything else transferred. Unfortunately, with our calling plans, it gave us 2 gigabytes, which got us really far while we're in Cabo. But there were a couple of little things here and there that we needed to talk back and forth. So what we ended up doing is using FaceTime audio. And what happens with that is that you're able to call over the Wi-Fi system as a regular call back and forth with the grandparents and trying to get everything organized, what we needed to do and what didn't need to do. Once we were out of cell phone range in Mexico, where our phone plans weren't doing it, we needed to have.
So that became not really life-saving, but it was massively important to us.
And another thing with this is the concierge staff was going above and beyond at this point, that we had a more personal
experience.
Connection, where I don't doubt that Disney would have been able to do it from a regular customer service point, but where the concierge is saying, hey, you got this available. They were telling us what we got available to help us to be able to make these contacts back and forth. There was an emergency phone call back to shore that we never knew about, that they said, yes, you have that, you can use that anytime, and we'll get you a free emergency call to shore if you need it.
And don't worry, we've got this covered. Like, how can we help you? That was the biggest thing that the Kuropa concierge is like, how can we help you? What do you need? What technology do you need? And it was just like, thank goodness, because it was just like this, being in a foreign country, not always having access to things that you normally would, and don't think that you would have to. It was a lesson for us, but yet at the same time, it made our experience as stress-free as it could be considering the situation.
And it really, they had ideas. They knew exactly, okay, we can help you here, we can help you do this, we can help you do that. And I know that with the Disney regular customer service, they could have done that, but they couldn't have spent as much time with us as they did. And we actually got everything cleared up quickly, fast, and used that FaceTime audio call back and forth with Hayden and his grandparents and everybody back. Very
Doctor's
seamless.
Office.
Everything very seamless for us, even though we do have an international Verizon calling plan. It's just once you're out of that area, you're going to be not being able to do that unless you pay a ton of money for the ship-to-shore calls on your cell phone, which is just ridiculously expensive.
But honestly, so many times after that day, like, concierge is like, how's he doing? What can we do? How can we help? Do you need to make an extra phone call? Like, everything was like above and beyond. It was just more than what I expected.
And we really did use that 100 megabyte plan that normally when we've gone in the past for a 5-day cruise, that we only use the 50 megabytes one plan for the most part for that whole cruise. This one we used it because we were calling back and forth making sure everything was okay.
So really, we've talked about this. Most of the time we would say that it's really not worth it, but it became worth it to us when we had that support and that help in a family emergency. I mean, it wasn't a life-threatening, our son is okay. And he was going to be okay, but it's still like, as a parent out of country, it's your stress level goes through the roof.
Especially when you're out of that cell phone range, you don't know what's going on. This way, we were able to stay in contact and keep everything going through. Really, that's where it became worth it, for the less stress on us.
And even they gave us a contact of how my parents could call us through the ship. There's a phone number, but they said, they're going to have everything If it doesn't ring up to the room, they're going to have everything forward to concierge. Concierge just is like, tell us kind of where you're going to be, whatever. We'll go find you if anybody calls.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like having somebody watch for us as a secondary, like, oh, and if we're not here and if it's after hours, we're going to go have it forward to the front desk and we'll make sure they find you too. Like, don't worry. If they call, we're going to find you right away.
So if you really want that peace of mind, that may be where concierge may be completely worth it for you to take. Normally, again, I think if we did this 3 to 4 day cruise, truthfully, we would probably still do the veranda.
Yeah, I think we probably would.
But where it would be also really worth it is if you're doing a 7-day cruise to the Mexican Rivera. And that's where concierge starts to become worth it because you're using it so much in those 7 days with sea days and everything else that are doing everything going on with their port calls and Paulo. If you really want to do Paulo, I wish we could have had time to do Paulo brunch twice because that's how good it is.
It is. Oh my goodness. And I'm not usually a brunch person, and I'm not like Disney Cruise Line food is decently good, but it's not something I'm like, oh, I really miss this on the cruise, except for Paulo lunch. Yeah. That's like a whole nother level there.
There's a reason people are talking about Disney cruises. They talk about Paulo and the kids and how good a time they had. It's very rarely about the food, and the food is just...
It's good, it's decent, but it's not anything that we usually would write home about.
No. So, please like,
subscribe,
and follow along on our Hana if this video has helped you any. I think with that, we've covered, is it worth it? So, yeah, it's confusing.
It is. I mean, that peace of mind, I think, was a huge deal to us, but that 3 to 4 days is really quick, and it's really expensive. Kind of in this case, the veranda is a very nice room for a 3 to 4 night. I'm one of those people that I like to have a door between me and my room, so I do need a balcony, that fresh air. Some of us, we get a little claustrophobic.
And that came from another cruise that we did a long time ago that we had no windows, nothing.
No doors. It sounds like the Haunted Mansion.
Yeah, it was the indoor cabin.
From hell.
Yeah. So that's why we do the verandas from now on. And unfortunately for us, I just think that price difference between the veranda and concierge would have been fine for us. It's just it wasn't available at the time for us. So I think it's time for us to say goodbye and...
Find your magic. Bye, everyone.